With March Madness right around the corner, I originally had 5 teams for this. No longer. Nope, now we're down to 4 Cinderella stories. Sorry, Belmont. No longer. Let's go. Up first, Santa Clara. They just lost in their conference championship game to Gonzaga, but this team is underrated. They're 37th in KenPom. They play with a good tempo. They're a top 30 offense. They remind me of an Iowa State team. They force a lot of turnovers. They offensive rebound pretty well, but an Iowa State team that never shoots free throws. They're in the top 30 in points per possession. Now they're down to 35th in scoring offense, which is still quite good. They're top 20 in the turnover margin. They beat a good St. Mary's team to get to the conference championship. They're smart. They move well without the ball. They have a good offense for sure. They're top 28 in scoring margin. They like to force turnovers and get on the run. Unfortunately, they didn't score on this one, but at least they got the ball, I guess. I think the best way to beat Santa Clara is to offensive rebound the ball. St. Mary's kept it close the whole game. Gonzaga offensive rebounds well. Arizona State beat them by offensive rebounding them well. And as much as you can, preventing turnovers so they don't get easy buckets. This is not a team you want to get into an offensive battle with because a lot of times they're going to outshoot you. Now, they did lose to Gonzaga, and they did lose in the title game to them because Gonzaga shot 40% from 3. And I know they lost by 11, but the box score is a little bit different than the actual game. Santa Clara was in this for a lot longer than you think. I have seen some defensive communication issues, which I've seen with a lot of teams this year, but they do good on recovering, especially on this play. My biggest fear with them is going up against like a Florida or an Arizona in like the second round because they will get out-rebounded on offense and probably on defense and then lose. I'd be very curious to see them go up against like a St. Louis or a Kansas teams that don't offensive rebound super well and that are just average at protecting the ball. The reality is that most of the high-seeded teams are going to protect the ball well. Like I said, they don't really shoot free throws at all, and they don't really win quad 1 games. Although they've kept it close, they've been great against quad 2, only losing to Arizona State by 3. And up next, it's the team that they beat. It's St. Mary's. I would compare them to like a Houston that doesn't force turnovers. They both play slow. They both are very efficient. It's kind of their style. St. Mary's is in the top 25 according to KenPom. They only have 4 losses all season, and their tempo is slow, but it's actually better than it was last year. This team is going to out-rebound you. They're great on defense, and what I love is that they make threes. They're in the top 50 in points per possession. They're a big-sized team, and the biggest change is I think they're not afraid to run when they need to. Overall, they're top 15 in scoring margin. And because they're a good 3-point shooting team, they do a lot of drive and kick, which works really well for them. And they offensive rebound, so even when they miss, they still get a second chance. Now, they're not great at forcing turnovers or protecting the ball, but they live and die by the rebound, which is good if that's their strength, and it is. Their ball screen coverage against Santa Clara was interesting. They were in a drop, but then Santa Clara started shooting really well for 3 on them. And maybe this is by design, but like on this play, they just don't really help at all. Or this one. And again, not in the huddle, so I don't know what the game plan is, but it doesn't look super. So after that, they start hedging, kind of. He kind of whiffs on it, and it gives up an easy almost dunk. And kind of similar to Santa Clara, not great against quad 1, but quad 2, they're 8-1. Now, I guess 8-2 because they lost to Santa Clara. But if you can limit their possessions and you can make them shoot 2s, you can beat them. Number 3, it's the Utah State Aggies. I'd kind of compare them to like a Duke if Duke did not rebound the ball. They're top 20 in forcing turnovers. They're 30th in points per game. They're top 10 in 2-point percentage and top 40 in 2-point D percentage. They're top 20 in points per possession and top 20 in points per shot. Top 25 in scoring margin. And the thing that actually surprised me maybe the most about this team is that they're top 20 in forcing turnovers, sitting right above St. John's, which is kind of crazy. I see them as really athletic. GCU tries to play a zone here and it just gets blown by. I think they're a smart team. They cut well. They know their spots. Here's an easy floater from like -2 feet. The offense is clearly the strong suit of this team. Take this play. They set an off-ball screen that he's going to curl, and he's going to get the pass back on a give and go. It's just beautiful. So a few minutes later, they run it again, but they have their big man who can shoot, so he pops for the 3, and he misses by way too much, but he was open. They ran it again, and GCU finally figured it out with the block. But Utah State won the game, so it doesn't really matter, I guess, does it? They've had a few quad 1 games, but they haven't played anyone that jumps off the chart at you. The toughest ones are like VCU, New Mexico, San Diego State. And I'm a little concerned because they just got the snot beat out of them against UNLV. They're going to get their points, but if you can offensive rebound, you can stay in this game. And if they have a bad night, who knows? The last team is St. Louis, and I'd actually comp them to like a Michigan. Their tempos are similar, their turnovers are similar, and they're both very efficient teams. St. Louis hovers around the 40s in everything. They have a very quick tempo, and they've played some decent teams for their conference. They are uber efficient on offense and defense. They don't really force turnovers or protect the ball like crazy, but everything else is just so efficient. They're top 10 in points per possession, as well as points per shot. Their scoring margin is insane. They're right up there with Michigan, Gonzaga, and Duke. But they've also had some really bad losses, like getting blown out by George Mason, losing to Dayton, and then finally they also lost to Rhode Island. What? But they have a great scoring offense, so whoop-dee. They love to run and gun, and generally I could see this team making it to the Elite Eight or losing in the first round. They like to double in the post, and I know Coach probably lost his mind on this one because the help is late and he's short anyway and he's behind him, so it's going to be pretty open for him. On this one, the help defender's already there and he's already way too high. The guy sees this and just backdoors him and gets a great dunk. So how do you beat this team? George Mason did it by stopping the three. They shot 16% against George Mason. Dayton was also good against the three, and they also forced St. Louis to give up 15 turnovers in that game. In Rhode Island, I honestly don't know, other than they had a bunch of points off turnovers. That's kind of it. St. Louis might have the highest ceiling of any of these teams, and they also might have the lowest floor of any of these teams. So those are my four. Let me know who you are in on this season. I'm super stoked for March Madness. If you watched all the way through, I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. We will talk to you soon. Peace out.